Right now, as you are watching this, a wall of Atlantic low-pressure systems is lining up like dominoes aimed directly at the United Kingdom. And the question nobody is asking yet is this: which city gets hit hardest between now and the 20th of February? Because the answer might genuinely shock you. In the next 15 minutes, I am going to walk you through every single major city and region across the United Kingdom, give you the exact timing of when the worst weather arrives in your area, when it peaks, and when it finally moves on. But here is what makes this different from every other forecast you have seen. At the 5-minute mark, I am going to reveal the one region that the Met Office is quietly most concerned about, and it is not where you think. Stay with me, because if you live anywhere in Britain, the next 2 weeks could catch you completely off guard. Let us start with the big picture, because what is happening in the atmosphere right now is genuinely unusual. The Met Office updated their long-range outlook on the 5th of February 2026, and the language they used was striking. Cyclonic patterns are expected to dominate the entire United Kingdom throughout mid-February. Now, in plain English, that means wave after wave of low-pressure systems are rolling in from the Atlantic. But here is the twist. These frontal systems are not going to sweep through quickly and move on. They are going to slam into a stubborn blocking area of high pressure sitting to the northeast of Britain and slow down dramatically. Think of it like a queue of lorries hitting a traffic jam. The weather just piles up over us. What does that mean for you on the ground? Persistent rain, heavy at times. The west of the country takes the worst of it, including areas already at serious flood risk. Snow is possible across northern England and Scotland, mainly over high ground, but potentially at lower levels during the coldest spells. And strong winds developing along the coasts, potentially reaching gale force. Now remember, this comes after Storm Goretti smashed into Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly in January with 99-mile-per-hour gusts, followed by Storm Chandra bringing 70 to 80-mile-per-hour winds and up to 20 centimeters of snow across Wales and the Pennines. The ground is already saturated, rivers are already running high, and now more rain is on the way. Drop a comment right now telling me where you are watching from. Your city, your town, your county. I will make sure your area is covered in detail. Because the forecasts I am about to share are incredibly specific, and depending on where you live, your experience of the next 2 weeks could be radically different from someone just 50 miles away. Let me take you through the country city by city, starting with the capital, London. Daytime highs around 8 degrees, dropping to roughly 2 degrees overnight. But here is the number that caught my attention. The 14th of February, Valentine's Day, is forecast to be the single coldest day of the entire month. Temperatures could plunge to 0.9 degrees. If you have plans for a romantic evening stroll along the South Bank, you will need thermals under that dress coat. The good news for London is that mid-February is actually the driest stretch of the month in the capital, with average daily rainfall of just 1.16 millimeters and only about 2 wet days in the middle 10-day period. But do not get complacent. Frontal systems can swing through and dump heavy rain with almost no warning. Sunshine, 2 to 4 hours per day at best. Humidity sitting around 83%, which means that damp, bone-chilling cold that makes 6 degrees feel like -2. And there is even talk of a snow day around the 14th. Snow in London rarely sticks, but when it does, the entire transport network grinds to a halt. Now, 320 kilometers north, Manchester, and this is where things get more serious. Daytime highs between 7 and 7.2 degrees, overnight lows down to 1 degree. The 15th of February is the warmest day forecast at 7.8 degrees. But Manchester averages 9 snowy days in February. 9. With typical accumulations of around 19 millimeters, that is enough to shut down rail lines and gridlock the motorways. The 12th of February is flagged as the wettest day of the month, with rainfall potentially approaching 4 millimeters in a single day. Sunshine, even scarcer than London, just 2 to 3 hours daily. This is Manchester at its most Mancunian. But wait, because here is something most people do not realize. Do not skip ahead yet, because at the 5-minute mark, I promised you the region the Met Office is quietly most worried about. Birmingham first. England's heartland, sitting inland without the moderating influence of the sea. Daytime temperatures around 7 degrees, falling to 2 degrees after dark. 3.8 days of snowfall on average in February, with 15 millimeters of accumulation. Lower than Manchester, yes. But Birmingham's position in the Met Office yellow warning zone for the West Midlands means flooding and severe weather risks are genuine. The overnight frosts here bite harder than in coastal cities because there is no warm sea air to take the edge off. Liverpool. Sitting right on the Irish Sea, temperatures are marginally warmer at night than Manchester thanks to the maritime influence. But the price Liverpool pays is the wind. When these Atlantic low-pressure systems funnel across the Irish Sea, the Mersey waterfront gets battered. 15 wet days in February, 47 millimetres of total rainfall. The 12th of February again flagged as the wettest day, potentially hitting 4.55 millimetres. Sea temperatures at 6 to 7 degrees. Absolutely not swimming weather. Now, the 5-minute mark, the region the Met Office is most concerned about, and I promised you this answer. It is not London, it is not Manchester, it is the Scottish Highlands and northeast Scotland. Here is why. On the 6th of February, Aberdeen recorded just 4 degrees, the lowest of any major city being monitored. But it is the mountains where the real danger lies. Forecast models show potential snow accumulations of 5 to 10 centimetres above 200 metres elevation, and in blizzard conditions, that could rise to 20 to 30 centimetres across the highest summits. The Met Office has issued amber warnings for parts of Scotland, one level above yellow, meaning a greater likelihood of serious impacts. Rural communities face the genuine risk of being cut off by snow-blocked roads and losing power. After Storm Goretti dumped 27 centimetres at Altnahara and dropped temperatures to minus 13.3 degrees at Braemar, Scotland is entering mid-February already under enormous pressure. Do not miss the next section because I'm about to cover Edinburgh, Glasgow, Cardiff, Belfast, and the Yorkshire region, and each one has a specific timing window you need to know about. Edinburgh, Scotland's capital, averages between 2.8 and 10 snowy days in February, making it one of the snowiest major cities in Britain. February is literally the snowiest month of the year in Edinburgh. Daytime highs just 6 to 6.4 degrees. The 17th of February is forecast as the warmest day at 6.9 degrees, but the 7th could see temperatures crash to 0.7 degrees. Rain on 13 to 15 days of the month. Total precipitation approximately 47 millimetres. Sunshine is desperately thin, just 2 hours per day, only 25% of daylight hours. Sea temperatures in the Firth of Forth at a brutal 5.2 degrees. When will the worst hit Edinburgh? The pattern suggests the heaviest snow and coldest temperatures will strike during the second week of February, between roughly the 7th and the 14th, as the coldest air masses push southward from the Arctic. If you are planning to visit Edinburgh during this window, prepare for genuinely harsh conditions. That said, Edinburgh under a dusting of snow, the castle atop its volcanic crag gleaming white against a grey sky, is one of the most beautiful sights in Britain. Glasgow takes it even further. More snowfall in February than any other major city in the entire United Kingdom. 3.9 snowy days on average, with accumulations reaching 49 millimetres. That is nearly double Edinburgh and roughly 3 times Manchester. Daytime temperatures struggle to reach 6 degrees, 15 to 16 wet days, rainfall totals stretching to 84 millimetres. The probability of rain on some days hits 96%. That is as close to a certainty as weather forecasting gets. Cardiff. Here is a surprise for many. February is the snowiest month of the year in Cardiff. Most people do not expect that from a South Wales coastal city, but when Arctic air plunges south and meets moisture-laden air above the sea, Cardiff can receive heavier snowfalls than cities much further north. Daytime temperatures are relatively mild at 8 to 10 degrees. On the 6th of February, Cardiff recorded 10 degrees, one of the warmest readings in the country, but 9 wet days and specific Met Office warnings about flood risk in western regions mean Cardiff is far from safe. The heaviest rainfall is expected to arrive with frontal systems pushing in from the Atlantic during the 2nd and 3rd weeks of February. Belfast, one of the wettest cities in the entire United Kingdom in February, 16.3 rainy days, 53 millimetres of total precipitation. That is nearly 1 wet day in every 2. The Met Office has issued yellow warnings for all of Northern Ireland, covering strong winds, heavy rain, and the possibility of snow. Daytime temperatures between 5 and 7 degrees, 2.8 snowy days on average with 25 millimetres of accumulation. The worst conditions for Belfast will likely coincide with each new Atlantic frontal system arrival, peaking during midweek periods when the low-pressure centres pass closest to Northern Ireland. Yorkshire. Leeds and Sheffield both recorded just 5 degrees on the 6th of February and both sit within active yellow warning zones. But what makes Yorkshire especially dangerous is the Pennines. As Atlantic rain bands sweep eastward, they hit the rising ground and produce dramatically enhanced rainfall, or when cold enough heavy snowfall. The Met Office has specifically warned that the Pennines are at greatest risk for significant snow. Both Yorkshire and Humber and the East and West Midlands have active flood warnings because weeks of prior rainfall have left the ground completely saturated and rivers running high. Any additional rain could trigger localized flooding almost immediately. Newcastle, winter S frontier, 5 degrees on the 6th of February, with yellow warnings across the entire northeast. This is where advancing rain bands from the west transition to snow as they meet the colder northern air. Mid-February daytime temperatures typically fluctuate between 5 and 7 degrees, and overnight readings can drop below freezing. By mid-February, forecast models suggest low-pressure systems may track further south, amplifying the wintry threat and bringing the possibility of snow even at lower levels along the northeast coast. The timing for Newcastle's worst weather aligns with the arrival of each new frontal system, but the most intense cold and snowfall risk peaks between the 10th and the 16th of February. Plymouth, England's first point of contact for incoming Atlantic weather. 11 degrees on the 6th of February, the warmest reading of any major UK city. But do not let that fool you. Plymouth sits in a yellow warning zone because it faces the full force of Atlantic winds. After Storm Goretti hit the southwest with unprecedented power, Plymouth remains vulnerable to every new system that approaches. Oxford and Cambridge. Here is another surprise. Both cities average 3.3 snowy days in February. Oxford sees 19 millimeters of snow accumulation, Cambridge 23 millimeters. People assume the southeast is too mild for meaningful snow. Wrong. When cold continental air sweeps across the North Sea from Europe, the southeast can receive heavier snowfalls than the northwest. Both cities fall within the Met Office yellow warning zone. Bristol, relatively mild at 7 to 9 degrees daytime, 8.6 wet days in February, but the southwest remains under specific Met Office warnings, and the lowest ultraviolet index of the year means whatever sunshine appears carries almost no warmth. Now, the broader context that ties all of this together. The Met Office has forecast that 2026 will be among the 4 warmest years ever recorded globally, with average temperatures approximately 1.46 degrees above pre-industrial levels. That is the 4th consecutive year exceeding 1.4 degrees. Prior to this recent surge, global temperatures had never exceeded 1.3 degrees above pre-industrial levels, and a temporary breach of the 1.5 degree Paris Agreement threshold in 2026 is entirely plausible. That is a sobering indication of how rapidly we are approaching a boundary that scientists have warned about for decades. What does that mean for British weather? More energy in the atmosphere, more moisture being picked up by Atlantic weather systems, more intense storms, more unpredictable patterns. January 2026 already demonstrated this, with Storm Goretti delivering 99-mile-per-hour gusts and temperatures plunging to minus 14.7 degrees at Tomintoul in Banffshire, followed almost immediately by Storm Chandra, 2 major named storms in a single month. Here is your practical checklist for the next 2 weeks. Layer your clothing. Temperatures can swing from near freezing at dawn to 8 or 10 degrees by midday in the south. A waterproof, windproof jacket is non-negotiable. Hat, gloves, and scarf are essential, especially north of Birmingham. Carry an umbrella everywhere. With 19 wet days across the UK in February, the odds of rain on any given day are staggeringly high. Check Met Office warnings before any journey. Yellow and amber warnings are currently active across multiple regions. If driving in northern England or Scotland, check road conditions before setting out. Keep a shovel, a warm blanket, and a torch in the boot. The motorways and highland passes can become treacherous within hours. One more thing before I go. There is a new weather system being tracked in the Atlantic right now that could arrive in the United Kingdom during the final week of February. Early indications suggest it could be more significant than anything we have seen so far this month. I will be covering that in detail in the next video, so make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on so you do not miss it. Comment below with your location. Tell me your city or your town. I read every single comment and I will make sure your area gets specific coverage in the next update. Stay warm, stay safe, and I will